Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirits. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for tuning in for another action-packed episode this week. As this week, I'm really excited because we've actually got together again. I'm joined by my co-host, Kristina Bloom, all the way from Wisconsin in the United States of America. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the unexplained. Also, in this week's show, we have the weekly energy forecast reading, which will hopefully help you navigate your way through the twists and turns of this week ahead. So before we crack on and I introduce Kristina Bloom, what I want to make you aware of is actually this week's episode is the first episode that I had a word with the governors, my spirit guides and helpers, and Kristina did as well. And we asked for their permission if we could extend our chats, because what we tend to do is we tend to have so much content left and we don't manage to fit it in a show. So I asked them and they agreed and they said, yes, of course, we'd love you to do that. But in doing that, what it has meant is every time we connect, there will not be the channeled section of the radio show, just for the episode that myself and Kristina are working together. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kristina Bloom. Kristina Bloom, how are you?
I'm great, Glenn. How are you?
Excellent. Fair to meddling.
Awesome. Fair to meddling. Okay.
Yes, I'm still breathing, so which I'm grateful for. So I hear you've been on your travels again recently?
I have, mostly locally, though. Some day trips. No overnights recently, but excited to go camping soon. And yeah.
Excellent. Well, I hope you've packed additional loo rolls or toilet rolls, because you never know. You never know when you're out in the wild.
Yeah. Well, they do have on-site restroom facilities and showers and all of that at the state park. So, and apparently we're close to it. My sister-in-law actually reserved the site, and she always picks one as close to the restrooms as she can get without being right next to it. So,
wow. Well, that's good. Then you're poshing it, as we would say. You're doing it posh. Excellent.
Kind of, yeah.
So we've got lots to discuss today, Kristina. As we say earlier, today's title of the show is The Unexplained. So we're going to be covering lots of phenomena and weird things that occur in this beautiful world that we live in. So where shall we start? Ladies first, where would you like to start this conversation?
I would like to start with asking you a question, because we actually did not have this word on our agenda today, but cryptids.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea. I'll have no idea, but I'll go with the feeling of that. I'll ask my guys.
Yeah. Cryptids are basically things that people see that there's no documentation for. So like animals that have not been seen before, or animals, and it's not always animals, but it's things that we're not familiar with. We don't have any scientific backing for, I guess. So I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask it different now that you've not
please
with that
please
word.
go down this avenue. Now you've explained it, may be able to add some.
Is there anything in your area that fits that description, that is maybe an animal that there's no previous scientific stuff on? Nobody's ever documented it
in my area? Not to my knowledge. I mean, this talk about, is it demon dogs and things like that, but obviously we know that dogs exist and all of this, and there's been in England sightings of like black panthers and things like that in the Yorkshire Moors, an area like that where there would be no reason for panthers to live in that environment. So there's that kind of thing, but obviously we've heard of panthers. So not to my knowledge, in this area as such, but I have seen videos online. Whether they're genuine or not is to be questioned. But there's talk about where supposedly they're in a laboratory or something like that, and or maybe it's an alien race that's done this, that have created hybrids from Earth creatures that we're aware of, and come together with various other creatures. And there's been sightings and captures of these particular, shall we call them animals or beings? There's no specific label for them as such. And there's been several. One that looks like, I suppose you could call it like a werewolf. That has been seen and recorded there as well. And it looks pretty genuine from what I've seen as, online content goes. Mm-hmm. And then there's genuine accounts with that. So kind of to answer your question, I'm aware of it now. You've explained it a little bit more to me, but not in this local area. I'm not aware of any. What about yourself?
Not like right in my neighborhood, but probably in a 90-minute drive from here. We have what we call the Beast of Bray Road, which is basically, the description is basically like a werewolf, but it's not specific to full moons, as the legend goes. So a lot of people have apparently seen this. It's like a very large wolf kind of thing but it runs upright. Like it's not on four feet. It's on just its back feet running upright. There have been apparently a lot of different sightings for it. It's called the Beast of Bray Road because that was the first time somebody actually documented it and, put that out there. There's all kinds of shows on YouTube about it if you're that interested to look it up.
But, I'm going to do some homework.
Yeah. We also have something in the state of Wisconsin, which is further away here. It's in the northern part of the state, and I'm in the southern part. It's called a hodag, Hodag. It's a hodag, and apparently it is. It's actually from close to my hometown, so that's kind of an interesting thing too. But that's more like a combination, like werewolf, crocodile, alligator sort of thing. It's like, yeah, and the city of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, is actually, that's where the basis of all of it is. So that's like kind of a big thing up there. They actually have a music festival every year. They call the Hodag Festival.
Wow.
So
that sounds like you just blow my mind. That sounds incredible. And just in your neighborhood. Well,
kind of about 3-hour drive from here.
Oh, yeah. Well, not you're not in any immediate danger then.
No. Oh gosh, no. I'm more in danger from the raccoons than I am from the hodags or Beasts of Bray Road. So
that's interesting that you talk about both of those sightings, or those creatures seem to be like hybrids of creatures that we're familiar with.
Right, exactly.
Do you feel that there is sort of some connection with either, these being either created in a laboratory, or maybe that these were the test pilots to the creatures that we're familiar with, and yet their offspring is still continuing to carry on?
I don't discount anything at this point. There's so much out there we don't know. I believe it's possible. I don't know about the hodag. That legend's been around for a couple hundred years, so I don't know that would apply to a lab. Maybe something brought in by an alien race.
Okay.
Would make more sense to me with that one, just because we didn't have that level of scientific know-how, 200 or 300 years ago.
So. Wow. And so these creatures are, I'm assuming they're quite shy. They hide away. They stay away from humans the best that they can.
Right. Well, they probably know that humans are more dangerous than they are. So, yeah.
Well, I've learned something new today. Cryptoids. Was it cryptoids?
Cryptids.
Cryptids. Well, I nearly learned something new. If I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah. I'll send you the spelling when we're finished. But Bigfoot is actually considered to be a cryptid.
Oh, well, that was a lovely segue, because that was going to be my next question.
I had a feeling.
Okay, yeah. So they run on a similar tangent then, don't they? From
Mm-hmm.
what I understand, Bigfoot and or Sasquatch is that they tend to hide in woodland, or they scurry around. And supposedly you could smell one before you can see one, because apparently the
That's what I've
smell is
heard.
meant to be overpowering. Um,
That
yes.
is what I've heard from a number of people. Yeah, but I've heard the smell different from different people.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, some people describe it kind of as like a wet dog, but a lot worse.
Okay.
And I've even had people describe it something like cranberry muffins, which I thought was kind of weird, but that must be something that's more of a spiritual kind of communication than an actual physical encounter.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
That is interesting. Supposedly they're meant to be really tall, anything from 7 feet going up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there is a theory, whether there's any strength to this, I don't know, but that they're multiple dimensional beings that travel through on our reality and move in and out of our dimension. And
Yeah,
this
that
is
is a
why
theory.
this is why people have issues trying to locate them and find them, because they zip off from one dimension to the next.
Yeah, and they have also been in many cases they've been documented as being seen where there's also UFO activity. So, there's
Wow.
that possible connection between, maybe they're aliens, who knows? But, the Bigfoot thing has been around for, again, a really long time, hundreds of years.
There is a collective name for people that observe these creatures. If correct me if I'm wrong, are they called squatchers?
Yes.
Yes, I've got something right.
Yes. Yeah. It is an interesting thing. I've had like telepathic contact with Bigfoot, but I've
Wow.
not like seen one physically.
So how did that go? What was that experience like?
I was at a friend's house in northern Michigan, which is almost as far north as you can go in the United States without actually crossing Lake Superior into Canada.
Yeah.
And one of them channeled through me with a message for the woman who owns the land where I was staying, and gave her some messages. And you trans channel too, but I have to say this was different than
Yeah.
anything else I've ever channeled. Um, Partly because that particular being had not channeled through a human before, and
Okay.
I'm 5'4". I'm not. I'm not a big person, and had trouble like dealing with my smaller physical space. And so it kind of looked like I was having a seizure, I guess, or something when I
Whoa.
was because he was trying to fit into my body. And
Yeah.
so it was like kind of jerking and whatever. But I wish he would have recorded that one because that one was actually in English. And I've sent you the recording of the one where I'm channeling a different Sasquatch, but in their
Yeah.
own language.
Yes, it's phenomenal. I was about to say, did they come through in English? Obviously, if they did, they'll be tapping into your language library
Right.
and finding the resonance with what they're wanting to communicate through you
Yes.
to do that.
Yes. And to me, that just kind of solidifies the either alien or multidimensional, because your average forest creature is not going to be able to do that.
Higher intelligence.
Yeah.
Speaking about their language, I've heard several recordings of the callings from a Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I'm getting chills, so I know there's some validity in this that I'm about to say. They have multiple tones within their communication. So you can hear like quite an aggressive growl. Then you can
Mm-hmm.
hear quite a harmonious tone, a low tone. And above that,
Yes.
you can hear like a mid tone and then a high vibrational tone. And they make these sort of unusual sounds. But to me, it's almost feels like sound healing,
Yeah.
some with me feeling that and getting the chills, as you can probably see. Well, you can't see if you're listening, but I've got the chills. I've got the goosebumps as I'm saying this. Just throwing this idea out there. Maybe these are custodians of the earth. And with those calls, with that sound healing, those tones, they're mending the planet in the best way that they can do. I'm just throwing that out there.
I would completely agree with that based on what I've seen and seeing them work with humans who are struggling with some things. I've seen some, I saw one very miraculous healing as these, I'm going to say spirit of the Sasquatch came through because they weren't physically there. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. Those clips that I sent you, I actually channeled on and off in that language for 2 to 3 hours.
Wow, you must have been exhausted after that.
Well, in between, I was asleep. Like they would wake me up, channeling through me, and then it was really weird. I've never channeled that deep before, so it was really interesting.
Wow! And so, did their vibration? You say you fell asleep, so they, on some level, they had to knock you out to a degree.
I believe so.
So that you didn't question some of the content or the experiences that you were having to make it a pure channel.
Right. And during that channel, fortunately, somebody had the foresight to pick up a phone and video record it. So, you can see my body changing. Like in one of the videos, the fingers on my right hand got longer. They appeared to be longer by about 2 to 3 inches. I looked like I had like a Fred Flintstone beard. I don't know how else to explain that. I filled up the chair more, like my body expanded to fill up the chair more. It was very intense experience, and most of which I don't remember. But when they were done and they left, I felt fine. So,
well, that's good that they left you in a really comfortable state, your authentic self.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kristina, are there areas not far from you where sightings of these creatures, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, have been seen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Within an hour, I would say. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty close to a fairly large city in Milwaukee, but yeah, there are some wooded areas that, either Sasquatch or some other things have been, we've got Mothman, we've got all kinds of different things. So
hold your boulder. Hold on a minute.
You've never heard of Mothman?
Mothman, come on, enlighten us all with Mothman. Doesn't eat your wardrobe, does he? Doesn't eat all the contents of your wardrobe.
Gosh, I hope not, because he's the size of like a 6-foot man.
Oh dear.
But yeah, it's a weird thing. There have been sightings in the Chicago area, which is only like 90 minutes from me. There's been sightings, I know, around the Boston area as well. We had a guest on Red Road Paranormal who is kind of an expert, so to speak. I mean, as much as anybody can be in cryptids of Mothman. But yeah, apparently it flies around the city. It looks like a man with moth wings, but no one has ever been able to find somebody with moth wing costume or anything. And it comes either before or after some sort of disaster, I believe. I think it's before, like a foretelling of, and it's usually like a weather-related disaster or something like that.
Whoa. With you saying that, I'm just being shown some images from spirit in my mind's eye. They reminded me of the Inca tribe and the South American tribes. I'm sure they used to have like etchings on the, on their temples with things of that nature, with creatures of that nature there.
Yes. Yeah. That would be Southwest America, Southwest U.S., probably Mexico too.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because they would perceive beings like what you're describing as some sort of god source that they would worship and, give offerings to, wouldn't they?
They would, yes.
Wow.
It's very interesting. If you want to deep dive into Native America, boy, that's a lot that goes there. There's I believe it's like 256 different tribes, and they all have their own language, and they all have their own legends. And so, then we get into like skinwalkers and that sort of thing. So, yeah, a lot of people won't even say that word out loud. So,
you know what? I think that's going to be a future episode of its own right. I think there's lots to learn from that.
Very well could be, yeah.
Definitely.
So, we have other things on our list to cover, and we're not.
We do, yeah. I'm fascinated.
Yeah. Fascinated. So, tell me about gnomes and fairies and elementals.
Okay,
that's something we don't have a lot of. So,
okay, so I've been lucky enough to be involved with a collective group here in the United Kingdom that have been doing some extensive research around the Woollerton gnome sightings. And there's a place in Nottinghamshire, called Woollerton Hall and Woollerton Deer Park, where these sightings have occurred. And the sightings were of gnomes. And just to do a quick summary, basically, it happened in I think it was the early 70s, where some children they just jumped over the wall and went through the local park area there at Woollerton. And they were drawn to this like swampy area, and they saw some lights there coming from that area. So they was intrigued by that. They followed those lights, and upon going in there, they noticed they was describing that they saw these little men in little cars, or what they would term as cars, driving around. They all had white beards, and they had pointy hats on, and there was giving some great depth to this encounter. And then there was questioned by several people. I think it was a schoolmaster and then somebody in the local newspaper there about what they've experienced. So all of that content is online for anybody that is interested. Just look up the Woollerton Gnomes. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, I was lucky enough to be invited on a gnome investigation, which was fascinating.
I'm so jealous.
As a spiritual medium, it was a different experience, because although that location is very, very haunted, there's lots of spirit there anyway. So for me personally, I had to tune into a different vibration and ask my guides to link into those elementals and the gnome community there. And so we encountered quite a lot of phenomena, albeit subtle, but you have to be sort of respectful of their vibration as well. And ideally, you need to be asking first before you can go into those areas, because this is their so-called home, where they like to reside. But yeah, one of the strangest things I saw when my guides were telling me where we need to go is we walked into this wooded area that was fenced off, so to speak, and we perused in there. The next minute, I can see this, I would say, 2.5 foot, 3 foot high being, same size as probably a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and it poked his head round the side of a tree. And I saw this long beard. I saw this hat. It was quite, I'd say it looked a bit like an Ewok, if you're familiar with Star Wars, that sort of build. But with clothes on, obviously. And as soon as it saw me looking at it and it spotted me looking at it, the next thing, this was the bizarrest thing. It went from being a solid state to going, the best way I can describe it is, the old-fashioned TVs where you turn the TV off at the end of the day and all the screen implodes and it goes to like a white dot.
Yes.
This is what this individual did. It went from a solid state to a tiny white dot and then just disappeared. And in my mind's eye, my guides were showing me what was happening. It was imploding. It was going in on itself rather than expanding. And so its outside was going inside, and then it just disappeared into this dot and then into the ether. But supposedly these beings are, they do a lot of, shall we say, is it time traveling or moving through different dimensions in this way? And they can pop here, be in that location, and then go over and they're 200 yards away. and they can do that and move from different dimensions. And so as I was explaining my experience to the rest of the team, they was also backing up what I've experienced with some of the facts that they'd researched prior to being there. So that was fascinating. We also experienced colored lights, almost like orbs, but these were like purple, like pink, violet colors, and they were very bright. Even though it was like a hot summer's day, they cut through the light of that hot summer's day. You could see them very clearly. But one of the investigators there, she was just, because we had a bit of a meditation to get to their vibration, to link to the gnome community vibration. And as she was just coming around, opening her eyes, she saw a being. I think she described it as being like this, probably about 1.5 feet tall, something like that. And she saw it running from one tree to another. And she said it looked like its head was ducked down and it was bolting from one tree to another to avoid being seen. Well, this friend of mine is very intrigued by these elementals, and she's very courageous. So she ran over to it and she tried to track it and follow it. And that's what she did. And from our experience, the rest of the group, because we was all in this wooded area, was like, where's she gone? Where's she gone? And she'd just done one. We couldn't find her. But yeah, we had a lot of encounters with the gnomes on these investigations. And albeit very subtle, there's a lot of energy there once you relax and, I would say, take yourself out of your human mind and just blend with nature and the energies around you. You're going to experience more of their vibration. There were beings there that didn't want us. I say beings because I feel as though they were part of the elemental kingdom, that didn't want us to go round this tree that had fallen down, and it was quite an oversized log. And I was hearing hissing and growling, almost like an animal would do to deter you from going round there. And obviously, we're investigators. We were intrigued. We want to find out what's going on there. So we went.
Never mind the fear. Let's go.
Yeah. So we went round there. We was warned, obviously, but what I was shown in my mind's eye was this creature. Almost looks like it was from, if you remember the film, The Labyrinth. It looked like a creature from that, and it was running round this tree, the perimeter of this tree. And it was urinating everywhere, just like an animal would do to mark their territory. Again, a warning sign to say, don't go anywhere near this tree. But of course, we're investigators. We went to have a look. And anyway, part of the filming equipment, a little bit later after having that experience with that log, snapped. So that was their way of having an impact in us. Well, we told you we're going to do this. You didn't listen. So there you go. So that's one of my experiences with the gnome community. What about yourself? Are you aware of them, or?
Again, only telepathically. Okay. There is a place, I don't know, maybe a 45-minute drive from here where there's known to be fairies. It's like a city park. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember the name of the city. I can't remember. It's either New Berlin or Burlington. I can't remember which one it is, but it's in Wisconsin, and there is a trail that you walk through, and then there is a vortex in this park that when you go and sit in it, it's significantly warmer. Regardless of the time of year, it is significantly warmer inside that vortex. And when I have gone to sit in that vortex, I can hear singing. But to me, it sounds Atlantean, so I'm a little confused about that. But yes, there are fairy rings in there, and I've seen fairy rings in a lot of different woods, where the trees grow in a circle.
Yeah.
Or there's mushrooms or flowers, and they just kind of grow in a circle in the woods. And whenever I see one of those, if I feel compelled to go in, I always stop and ask permission. Always. Because there have been times I've been told no, so then I don't go in. It's a matter of respect. Like if somebody knocked on my door and I didn't want them to come in, and I said no and they came in anyway, that would be really disrespectful. So I am respectful about when they say no, don't come in. I figure that they have their reasons for it, but yes, I see them as sometimes as little flashing lights, and sometimes I hear them, and sometimes I can see their wings. They almost look like dragonflies, but not quite. When I see them, they're a little bigger, maybe 6 or 8 inches usually. I have seen the tree dryads, like your friend was chasing. That's what I thought it was.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what popped into my head when you were talking about that is dryads. I have seen those, and yeah, they kind of scurry around and up a tree faster than any squirrel I've ever seen do it.
She was saying that to look at them facially, they're not the prettiest of creatures.
No.
They have quite a pointy nose, like a downward nose, and very spiky features.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, they're protectors for sure of the forest lands, much like gnomes are. I feel like they all kind of work together, but they sort of keep their, like, you stay there and I'll stay here and we'll get along just fine.
Yeah.
that's been my experience with them. Yeah. But other than that, no, I haven't had a lot of experience, more with fairies than with gnomes.
Wow, that's fascinating. I was lucky enough, I don't know if I've told you this many years ago, where I happened to be in my own home and just chilling out, watching the TV. The side of my peripheral vision, I saw a fairy being, probably like you say, about 6 to 8 inches tall. But for me, the wings supersized the physical body. The wings were huge, probably 3 times bigger than the physical body.
Wow.
And these appeared from the corner of the room where I'm recording in, and they came right in front of me, almost near the TV. And I was aware of this chalk-style mist that built up into a solid coloured form. And then this fairy, let's call it a fairy, it ran right across. And I was just overwhelmed, the size of the wings on these things compared to the physical body. And then later on that same evening, I saw a female version of the same thing. But this was interesting because she took flight. So she kind of jumped up, and then I just saw these big wings flapping, and she probably went to about 2-3 foot high from the floor and then disappeared into this coloured chalk dust, and then everything went clear again. But to me, I've explained this to a few people, and they've said, well, they must feel very comfortable in your vibration to actually allow you to experience them, see them visually. It wasn't for long, probably like, I don't know, anything from 10 to 30, maybe 40 seconds each sighting there. But it's always stuck in my mind because it was so vivid. There was no other explanation for it. There was only me in the home. And it was just, normally I would kind of like look and be a little bit freaked out, but my jaw dropped and I was just in awe how beautiful they were. And I felt honored to have that encounter.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So we're going to move on again. We haven't got, we're running out of time, aren't we?
Are we really? Wow. Okay, go ahead.
UFOs. Let's go there, shall we?
Have you ever seen one?
I believe so. A few years ago, not too far from where I live. But I don't know. There was other people there with me. They were saying, yes, it is. It's not a thing. It's not man-made or anything like that. So that was one encounter. The most bizarre encounter I had when I was driving up the motorway going by Sheffield in the United Kingdom, and I was driving up north of the country. When I was driving up there, I just saw this dancing of light in the sky, and it was like it had a white trail behind it, and it was going that fast. So like at 1 minute it was to the left, then it was to the right, and it was so quick you couldn't make that type of movement. Obviously, I was driving at the time, on a motorway, so I couldn't stop and assess like I would have liked to.
Right.
But I did notice the radio in the van at the time, it uses Bluetooth from my phone to play, the music. excuse me. But whilst I was seeing that, I noticed that that signal was dropping out, and it never does that. It was dropping out just the moment I was seeing these lights dancing across. So I did notice that, and I felt a little bit peculiar at the time as I was driving. So I had to kind of keep it together because I was on the main highway, as you would call it. So, you've got to keep your concentration there. But that was a fascinating encounter. And I've also noticed, along with my daughter, that some of these crafts like to blend themselves in with our scenery. And we noticed early in the morning doing the school run, the fact that there was this bizarre shaped cloud. And in my entire life, I've never seen clouds behave in that way before, and it looked like craft-like, almost perfect, but it was just the fact that it looked like a cloud. Normally, clouds, as you know, they're very organic. They have a roundness about it. This looked like it had been made in a workshop. You know what I mean? It was so
I've been seeing a lot of clouds like that lately. It's really interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So have you? Let's throw it over to you.
I have. So here we're going to go down another tangent, but I was on the North Shore on Lake Superior with some friends, and we were out there with our black lights looking for what's called Uper lights, which is it's like a granite stone, but it has bits of sodalite in it. So when you hit it with a black light, it turns orange, right? The sodalite turns orange. Anyway, that's what we were doing out there on the shore. And something caught my attention, and I looked up and I saw the triangle lights, like the 3-point lights.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of hovering, but sort of swirling back and twisting back and forth. And it was right off the shoreline, but it was quite a distance away, but I could still see it very clearly. And then it just zipped off to the right and then straight up, and it was gone. And that zip to the right and straight up took maybe, I don't think it was a full second. It was really fast. Really fast.
Wow.
But then that's the only one where I've seen the lights, but then I have seen a lot of the clouds. Like you can just look at it and go, that's not natural. That saucer-shaped cloud, not natural. And I have I don't know, maybe just in the last year, seen a lot more of the cloud formations that are more, it's like they're swirled in the sky, but it's not like a twister. It's not like a tornado.
Yeah.
It's just like somebody took their hand and just went through the cloud and made like a circle out of it. And I've been seeing a lot more of that. I don't know. I look up a lot because, I've been waiting for them to come back and get me since I was a kid. So pretty sure they abandoned me on this planet. But I've been noticing a lot more of that. And just like I'll get radio interference in my car. I don't necessarily see anything.
Okay.
But there shouldn't be a reason for radio interference at that point, wherever it is I'm driving. I've noticed that increasing more often where I'm getting that.
That's fascinating. And don't you feel it's comical when you mentioned that you see them in the clouds? The best analogy I could use is like when you see a quite obese person trying to hide behind a lamppost.
Kind of.
It's like that. And I always think to myself, nice try, but not good enough.
Yeah.
We know you're
we
there.
See you.
Yeah.
We know you're there. Plus, I channel Pleiadians. So, and I did that on the show here one time.
Yes, you did. It was
So, I have that connection, but I don't often see the crafts. So, and again, still waiting for the mothership to come and get me.
You've got work to do. You ain't going nowhere.
I'll be quiet.
It's not time to retire yet. It's time to step up a gear. Roll your sleeves up.
Yeah. So, have you had encounters either telepathically, psychically, or whatever with alien races?
I have, but I don't think we've got time to dive as deep as I'd like to into that. But I've had an experience in my home, whilst I was on a phone call with a friend who's also similar to us, has that open mind. And I saw what he was describing to me as a blue avian, because I was telling him what I was seeing in my conservatory, and he says, "Oh, that's a blue avian," and he was there for about a minute, and you just felt like you was in the presence of this higher being, because you felt like, if you've seen the Wayne's World film, I'm not worthy. You felt like that in the presence of it. And it was staring at me. And I think it was because the conversation me and my friend was having at the time, they were inquisitive why we was talking about that. And they was making sure we was not up to no good and was genuine. We was just talking about alien races like we were, like we are, so should I say. And then, I saw this great big 7 foot tall blue, part bird, part man or being. I can't really begin to describe it and give it justice, but it was so bizarre. You wouldn't even dream of seeing that in your conservatory.
Wow.
So I have in a way, and I've seen others in a different location, like slender beings about 20 foot high, again playing like a hide and seek in between trees. And again, you're like, okay, nice try, but I can see.
Apparently, Bigfoot do the same thing. They just freeze, because if they don't move, they're harder to detect.
Yeah, it's comical, isn't it? Almost, But we're running to the end. I know we're going longer, and again, we've got so much to talk about. We haven't covered it all as yet, have we?
No, we haven't even gotten close to covering it all.
So maybe that's a part 2. I think.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe we should do a part 2. Yes.
I think so. So, Kristina, as always, I'd like to invite you to share how people can either have a reading with you, a session with you. Where can they find you? Where can they contact you?
Well, on my website, KristinaBloom.com, and there is a form on there that you can fill out to request a reading time, and then I respond via email to confirm the time. So there's that option, and then through Facebook, at my Facebook group, preferably, which is Kristina Bloom, your spiritual advisor. So those are the 2 easiest ways to get a hold of me. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok and heaven only knows what else. But yeah, all the socials.
That's fantastic. And is there anywhere other than camping where people can come and see you face to face? Are you at any events anytime soon?
Yes, this weekend, Wausau, Wisconsin. The weekend after that, which is something I was going to bring up before.
Okay.
In Hayward, Wisconsin, I'll be at the Seven Winds Casino up there with the Metapara Pro group. And that area is really well known for Bigfoot. So I'm going to make a little extra time to go out and see if I can meet some of my brothers out there, my brothers and sisters in the woods, and see if they'll talk to me that way. So.
That is fascinating. As an experiment, could you take some of their recordings of their callings? I'm sure you can obtain these off the internet, genuine, authentic ones, and maybe play it over a speaker whilst you're there, just as an experiment.
That's a thought.
See if you.
I belong to a few Bigfoot groups, so I know I can get some authentic recordings.
Oh, excellent! That's worth a shot, then, isn't it? And maybe record any video captures or any responses you get.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think this is also another topic for another time, but relatively recently you went to a paranormal investigation in a lodge, some sort of lodge, wasn't it?
Masonic lodge.
No other than a Masonic lodge. So I think that is an unveiling for another episode, because I still haven't heard all of that, investigation from you. So I'm sure that's going to be a good listen.
Right. Well, we're both busy, so it's hard to it's hard for us to make time to actually just sit down and have a conversation about stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I'd be happy to share that with you.
Fantastic. Well, Kristina, it's been a pleasure. It's been a joy. Again, like we said, we're going to have to make a part 2 of this episode, because there's so much that we haven't covered, even though we've been granted permission from the guides to have extended time. We still managed to talk everybody's ears off.
Yes. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yes, definitely. Well, you take care. Have a wonderful week. And I look
Thank
forward
you
to
too.
working with you soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Incredible conversation there with Kristina Bloom. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And like we were saying there, we've got so much to dive even deeper into. So we're looking at doing a part 2 with that. Anyway, we're going to be moving into the next segment of the show, which is this week's forecast reading. But before we do that, I'd just like to inquire with all of you, how have you been this week? Have you noticed any changes in your life? Have you noticed any changes in your physical or emotional or mental state? As we know that there is a change happening in the universe where all of these elements are being compromised or at least attuned to a different vibration. And although it may seem like things are getting worse, in actual fact, what's happening is you have to get to know those elements before you can shift and move on to a higher timeline. So if you're anything like me, I've been experiencing quite a few challenges within my life over the last few weeks where circumstances completely out of my control have occurred, and I've had to kind of like just go through them rather than maybe saying, why me? Why has this happened? What's going on? Can I have some help? Well, rather than going all down that avenue, I've had to sort of face these elements in my life. And actually, in doing so, I've noticed that there's been some parts of my psychology come up to the surface. Now, when I say this, I'm talking about old belief systems and old operational systems that out of habit, I've been using on a day-to-day basis. But these circumstances that have entered my life have certainly helped shake things up, bring some of these elements up to the surface that I wasn't fully aware of. And in doing so, it's allowing me to confront them, face them, and then let them go. And I must admit, I'll be honest with you, it can be frustrating at times because it's almost as if I want to run before I can walk, so to speak, with these elements within my life. But I feel that Spirit and the universe have a different plan entirely because they're kind of encouraging me that I have to go through them. You can't run away from them. You can't ignore them anymore, and just observe how you feel going through that process. And in doing so, I must admit, I do feel a lot better within myself. My trust muscles have been strengthened or stretched to the ultimate, really. And so I'm very grateful to my spirit team and my guides for keeping me resilient through these changes there. So I wanted to bring that up and maybe just point out to you that these things that are coming up in your life are here to serve you, to serve your highest good, so that you come through the other side with more strength, confidence, more resilience, and also you have a different approach on how to live your day-to-day living. So I thought I'd share that with you today. Anyway, as I say, we're going to be moving into the next segment of the show now, which is this week's forecast reading, to hopefully help you navigate your way through the twists and turns of this week ahead. So sit back, relax, take some bullet points or notes if you feel you need to, and enjoy this week's forecast reading from Spirit. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday the 15th of July 2024. Now, those of you that have watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers and also consult the wisdom of the angel tarot card. So what I'm about to do, just shuffle the pack and allow a card to come out for this week's energy forecast reading. So this is your card for this week's energy forecast reading. I'm now going to link into the vibration. First of all, I'm being told to don't sweat the small stuff this week, as things are going to work out in your highest good. What you will notice this week is that you'll have an abundance of energy and inspiration. Now, these inspirational ideas are going to come in from your higher self and your spirit guides. And you'll know this because they'll come out of the blue. They're things that you would never even consider. And they're going to come in, and you're being encouraged to actually explore these ideas with playful curiosity, as they are going to help you throughout your life this week. What I also want to say is that you will
be wanting to get something off your chest this week, something very close to you. And I feel this is something of a personal nature that you've kept to yourself for quite a long period of time. This week we'll see you actually getting it off the tip of your tongue. And it will feel like a weight's been lifted off of your shoulders once you've done this, because you'll feel this sense of release. You'll also feel a sense of confidence as well, because you'll be thinking, well, why was I even worrying about mentioning this or bringing this subject up? There was no need to. And you'll find that the blocks in your life will start to be removed from you once you've expressed this communication. What I also feel this week is that you will feel a little bit lightheaded, particularly around Wednesday of this week. And I'm being told that this is because you're aligning to higher frequencies, and also that you're shedding some old skins, some old vibrations, old belief systems that you clung on to for such a long time. But now you're entering that realization that actually these aren't my energies anymore. They don't suit me. They're not for my highest good. Now, what I mean by this is I feel as though it's your own agendas, what you perceived your life unfolding open like. And I feel as though that you're just going to be more open to inspiration coming in, and you're just going to blend your energy with the universe this week. Again, towards Wednesday of this week, things are going to improve dramatically for you. So trust is the key word for you this week. I'm also being told that within your friendship circles, there's going to be some people that are going to get in touch with you and are showing and expressing a degree of concern about you and the circumstances that you've been going through. Rather than pushing them away or being too proud, you're being encouraged to actually engage in conversation with them and open up a little bit more and actually tell them your plight, what you've been going through. Once you've done this, what you will notice is the help that you've been wanting for such a long time, but you've been too stubborn to actually accept, will start to come in, and you are to accept with open arms. So let's turn over the card and see what the card has to say for you. At the top of the card, we have the angel number of number 5. So I'd like you to research that, as I feel that that will give you additional content and information. There's something to do with 5 months. 5 months from now, your life will look increasingly better than what you perceive it to be now. And I feel as though things are going to happen to you beyond your wildest imagination. So just trust. This is a sign to tell you to trust on that. 5 months from now, remember. Underneath that, it says divine guidance. Again, this is relating to what we were saying earlier about you getting inspirational ideas coming in this week. Ideas that you would never even contemplate for yourself. This is the universe stepping in and helping you out throughout this week of your life. Underneath that, it reads Archangel Sandalphon. So I'm going to connect in with the vibration and feeling of that. All I'm hearing is let go, let go, let go, let go. So I feel as though you are going to be helped by Archangel Sandalphon to help you let go of your old versions of yourself, like we spoke of earlier. And sometimes these old versions of ourselves can be stubborn. They can be old belief systems that are clinging on for dear life within our physical, energetic and emotional body. So you will feel these shifts coming in this week. And when you do, just simply trust. You will be taken right to the edge of the wire, so to speak, with the trust vibration, but you'll be so pleased that you did. And then just notice these energies go and leave you. Underneath that, it reads, on the inscription at the bottom, it reads, the search for meaning in life. Consider an alternative approach. Surround yourself with wise teachers or friends. So again, this is going in alignment with what Spirit was saying about the help is out there. Just allow yourself to be open to it and express yourself a little bit more, and people will come to your rescue. They will help you. Don't be too proud and stop pushing people away. That's what I feel that represents. So looking into the coloration of the edge of the card, we've got this purple blue color. So purple is talking about being protected, being guided, by your ancestors and loved ones from the world of spirit. And what I feel as though they will be doing is leaving you incremental signs in and around your environment. So look out for things that remind you of these loved ones, or songs that remind you of these loved ones appearing in your head. This is evidence that they are around you, and they're not ignoring you. They are helping you behind the scenes with your life. So keep up that trust is what I feel that represents. Also, the color of blue is talking about your emotions and communicating clearly to others. Again, stop bottling things up. Allow your communications to come through. Like we said earlier, it will be a weight off your shoulders, and you'll be so pleased that you did that. Let's take a look into the artwork. We have this divine masculine angelic being there. And if we look at this divine masculine, first of all, it's telling you to stop pushing with your life. Stop trying to figure everything out, because the old ways aren't working for you anymore. So release, relax, and let go of that facet of yourself, of your personality. This is also telling you to have faith, have patience, and also be open, be more receptive for help coming in. It's going to come in unexpected ways, so you will have to be patient, and you'll have to be using your powers of observational skills this week, and acting when you feel that energetic pull, that magnetic pull to do so. Because usually you would question things and you would rattle those things around your mind, and by doing that you're wasting valuable time. The energy is there. When you feel that energy, trust it, go with it, and everything will work out in your highest good. Also, this card is talking about, there's 2 columns there. So I want to give you the angel number of number 2 to research as well, as I feel that that is prominent. And with it being 2, this is something to do with a partnership. It feels like a close bond, like a relationship, that sort of vibration. But it's also telling you about that energy holding you up. So don't do things alone. You may be very proud, you may be very confident in doing things on your own, but this is telling you actually to just allow that energy, allow that vibration to come in, and don't be too proud. Also within this, there's lots of golden light in the background. To me, that's talking about inspirational energy coming in. It's also talking about healing, guidance, and a new beginning coming in. Like we said earlier, look out for 5 months from now, but I feel as though this week is going to be the catalyst for these new vibrations and new opportunities coming into your life. So accept them with open arms there. Don't be too proud. Also, there's some clouds in the background there. That to me represents old ways being let go of, and stop looking at the down and outs or the lower vibrations. That vibration has left you now. You're moving into a new timeline. So that's what I picked up for you. I hope that resonates with you. Thank you for hearting, liking, commenting, and sharing. If you've enjoyed this read and you would like to help and support the work that I do, I have got a buy me a coffee link either above or below this video, which is a virtual tip jar. So all of your generous donations will be gratefully received and used in accordance with the spiritual work that I do to help people raise their vibrations and ascend on their spiritual pathway. If you want any of my spiritual services, head over to my website, www.glenboddicespiritualmedium.com. Find me on Facebook, Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium, and book in with me there. Join me every Monday, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, with my radio show From Beyond with Glenn Boddice, talking about all things spiritual, paranormal, and self-help on www.pulsetalkradio.com. Have a fabulous week, everybody. Bye for now.
Well, it sounds like we're all set for a very interesting week ahead, doesn't it? And it's nice to know that we're supported and helped and guided by our loved ones in spirit, and also our spirit team. But anyway, if you've enjoyed today's show, I hope you have. And in fact, if you have any questions for the show, for either myself, Glenn, or Kristina to answer on your behalf, then please contact us at www.glenboddicespiritualmedium.com, or you can email me at glenboddice@live.co.uk. It will be fantastic to hear your questions and answer them on another episode. So whatever it is you're doing this week, have a fantastic one. And you can join me the same time, Monday, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, on this very channel, www.pulsetalkradio.com, with this very show From Beyond with Glenn Boddice. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium